but I think cool. So how is everyone?
On record.
I might disappear. There's a storm over there with a lot of wind. So I'm expecting some.
You know the story with the 3 little pigs? What kind of house do you have?
The one with the wind.
Blows your house down at the end.
Hey Sam, how are you? It's been a while.
Doing good. Fingers fingers crossed for it this time. Does it work?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, we are 5 minutes in. So apologies for again the late start. So let's go ahead and jump in. So thanks everyone for joining today. I really appreciate you making the time. This is going to be the 12.5 group kickoff for Secure and Defend. My name is Sam Kerr. I'm a principal product manager here at GitLab, focused on Secure and Defend. And really what we want to do in this meeting is discuss what are the key direction items that are going to be deliverable during 12.5 for this release are, and go into a little bit more detail than what's going to be covered in the company kickoff call for 12.5. So if you're coming from watching the company kickoff call recording, you might have seen some of these issue titles, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on each of them, provide some more context. And so the board that I'm looking at right now, this is the 12.5 iteration. We're filtering based on those deliverable items that we're confident we can deliver during the iteration, as well as direction items, which are some of the higher level features and capabilities we want to focus on during the release. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in at the top. And the very first issue at the top of the list is WAF statistics reporting. So WAF, or Web Application Firewall, is something that we delivered for the first time as part of the 12.3 release. We offered the ability to install the WAF into newly created clusters in GitLab and log events, log traffic that the WAF identifies as potentially malicious. But what we want to focus on with this issue is surfacing that information at a little bit higher level. So rather than requiring you to go in, connect to the cluster directly, tail a log file for the WAF to actually be able to see what it's noticing, we want to take that information that's in the log file, do some calculations on it, and report some basic statistics about the WAF. And so the things that we're going to be targeting for this issue initially are reporting the amount of traffic that the WAF has seen, reporting how much of that traffic has been blocked versus how much has not been blocked. And so this is going to be a really great way for you to tell quickly that the WAF is working, it's turned on because it's seeing traffic. And also secondarily, with the default set of rules that we provide, how much of your traffic is being identified as potentially malicious. And if that's higher or lower than expected, that gives you a great starting off point to investigate why, what's the reason for that. And so this is one of the things we're focusing on in 12.5, giving you that greater level of visibility, giving you more detailed information about how the WAF is working when it's been deployed. So going back to our list, the next item is what we're calling standalone vulnerability objects. And this is going to be our MVC for this offering. If you've seen this issue before, it might have been referred to as first-class vulnerabilities. But I've updated the title to be standalone vulnerability objects, really to reflect the fact that these are going to be first-class standalone entities inside of GitLab going forward. And so what this issue and this MVC is all about is we currently in GitLab today report vulnerabilities with our various SAST, DAST, and other scanners in the product. If you do a merge request or run a pipeline, the results of those vulnerabilities are shown in line with the pipeline itself, with the merge request, as well as our security dashboard, which is great, but there are also times when you want to link directly to a vulnerability potentially. Perhaps you want to share a vulnerability with someone else in your organization, and you might want to do more formal workflows around vulnerabilities specifically, so you can track the process of triaging them, working through temporary mitigation plans with them, or ultimately remediating them. And so standalone vulnerabilities is going to be our first step, our first MVC in this area about making vulnerabilities more of a first-class experience inside of GitLab. there are lots of designs and good discussion on this issue, so I encourage you to read through those issues. But really what this is going to be about is a few key things that's going to differentiate it from what vulnerabilities look like at GitLab today. Namely, one of those is that you'll be able to link directly to a vulnerability. So you can bookmark ones that are critically important that you want to keep coming back to more and more. We're working through a way to link vulnerabilities to different issues so that if you want to track the vulnerability separately from the work needed to mitigate or remediate a vulnerability, that's going to be possible as well. And these are really going to be a lot of back-end changes that are going to be, invisible to you as an end user, but changes how we at GitLab are storing and processing this information in our back-end systems, so that as we do mature out the vulnerability management category, these foundational objects will better support the vision and the roadmap that we have for operations and future features. And so this will be one of our key focus areas in 12.5. Going to the next one on the list is SaaS support for the React framework. And so what this is about, we currently support a number of different languages and frameworks with our SaaS scanning today. And so we want to continue expanding that coverage for more languages, more frameworks, and React is one that we're targeting in 12.5. If you're not familiar with it, React is a JavaScript framework. It's becoming more and more popular in the industry. We're seeing a lot more adoption of it. And so we want to make sure that if you're developing applications and projects using React, that you can also take advantage of SaaS and the benefits it provides. Notably, if you watched our 12.4 kickoff video, this was in our 12.4 plans. We did not complete it during that time. So we're still continuing to prioritize this capability because we do believe it's important, and it's why we're also focusing on it in 12.5 as well. And the last on the list is our MVC for performing secret detection on the entire history of your repositories. And so what this issue is all about is, today at GitLab, we do secret scanning to be able to identify potentially sensitive credentials, tokens, or various other pieces of information in your repo so that they don't get committed accidentally and then abused later. Today, we're able to identify those, notify you as part of our security dashboard and our secrets reporting. But one thing that we wanted to cover is the use case where maybe a secret was committed in history of your repository, but not necessarily it's in the head commit of master today. And this could happen perhaps if someone committed a secret, realized they committed it, and added a new commit to remove that secret file, which may appear that the secret's been removed. There's no issue at that point, but because Git stores everything in its history and you can go back to older commits, those secrets and those tokens are still going to be available if someone has access to your repository history. And so we want to expand our secret detection to not only look at what's the current commit, what's the current state of the repository, but with this MVC, expand it to be able to look at all the commits through history, look at the entire history of the repository, so that even if something was committed in previous commits, you're able to identify that and you can either rotate, delete, or take a next step with any of those secrets that have been found. And so this is another one of our focus areas for the 12.5 release. And so with that said, I did want to just touch on a couple of the things we're also working on in 12.4, which are likely going to be delivered in 12.5. And the first of those is going to be the blocking mode for the web application firewall. So let's open this one up. So similarly to what we talked about with the 12.3 release of the WAF, it currently lives in listen-only mode, so it will log and record traffic, but won't block traffic that it identifies as potentially malicious. Something we started working on 12.4 and will likely deliver as part of 12.5 is enabling you to actually block potentially malicious traffic that's been identified with the WAF. This is going to be an opt-in capability so that traffic won't start to be blocked until you've decided that the WAF is working correctly for how you want it to work, and you're ready to make that transition. So I just wanted to highlight this as this is likely going to be in 12.5, and it's going to continue to be one of our focuses coming from 12.4. Similarly, SAST for Kubernetes manifests. This is something we're still currently working on as part of 12.4, which will also likely ship as part of 12.5. Like we talked about SAST with React framework, Kubernetes manifests, and being able to define how your clusters and your infrastructure is behaving is very important. So we want to make sure that we can offer SAST scanning to help identify any vulnerabilities or potential issues there before that deployment gets completed. Especially as we see more and more organizations moving towards an infrastructure as code model, where the infrastructure and all of the configuration is actually committed to source control rather than someone hand typing out commands on a console or building clusters and systems manually. Being able to offer SAST scanning in this area is a really great offering, so that as your infrastructure as code initiatives move forward, you can also move forward securely using SAST. And so with that, we have reviewed all of the deliverable direction items in 12.5, as well as some of the ones that will be coming from 12.4. I do want to point out that we have a lot of other things that we're going to be working on and want to achieve during the 12.5 milestone. So if we remove the label filtering, you'll see a number of other different issues. So feel free to take a look through this list offline, engage in the discussion on those issues directly. These are issues we are going to be working on, but these aren't necessarily the key direction items, which you'll see in the release post, or we're not confident that these will definitely be delivered during the iteration. You'll see some issues marked as stretch, which indicates we think we have a good chance of making it, but aren't confident yet. So we might see those come in either 12.5, 12.6, or further follow-on iterations. And with that, any questions from the folks here? If not, well, I appreciate your time.
I have a question on the secret detection in the full story. It's probably in the comments and trying to find that information, but yes. How and when are we going to run that?
So that's going to be one of the things we'll need to find out, because there's going to be a couple different touch points where I could see, making the most sense. It could be an on-demand approach that we use. I think there's a UX design attached to this, but we're likely going to put a badge at the top of the project to say you either have or have not done full secret scanning. And then based on that, we'll likely offer a way to trigger the full scanning if you haven't done it up to that point.
Okay. I'm not super confident about that one, because that part is a bit blurry, and that leads to other parts that are blurry. If we want to trigger that kind of scan, that means we're able to identify the secret job in the pipeline, but we're not able to do that. The issue isn't closed. So that would lead to more questions, I guess. So that one, my point is, it's probably more stretched than the deliverable, this one. It seems like a lot of work just for one iteration, but probably just me. Okay.
Well, maybe we can dig into it with the rest of the engineering team and look through some of the design interfaces that have been proposed, see if that helps clarify it.
All right. So we can continue asynchronously on the issue. No worries.
Okay, great. All right. And with that, thank you very much, everyone. And we will talk soon.